Jasmine, who you know is deaf and she's mute. And when she was 3 years old, she wasn't walking at that point. And I was told that she was not going to walk. And that was hurtful for them to say, your daughter, who is deaf, who doesn't talk, she's also not going to walk. But here we are 31 years later, and she walks. She does not talk verbally, but she knows how to communicate her needs better than some people who actually can talk. I think so many times we think that life is just happening to us, and that life for us is so bad, not realizing that there are others that are going through issues that are bigger than life. And some of them wind up taking their own life because they can't handle the pressure. Hello, everyone. Dr. Lisa L. Campbell here, the Growth Motivator, and welcome to the first episode of the Growth Motivator Live. This show is designed to empower you, inspire you, motivate you to really become a better version of yourself. When I thought about the title of this first episode, I struggled a bit. And so what I did was actually record the last episodes, 2 through 10 for this season. So there's going to be a total of 10. And when I finished number 10, I was at a holding pattern. I was standing still. And it hit me that the first episode needed to be about life's challenges, the obstacles that we face. I think coming out of this pandemic, in some shape, form, or fashion, we all have experienced some type of mental instability, whether you want to admit it or not. But, you know, life happens. And I think it's important for us to be equipped with the tools to handle when those moments do arise. So today, my very first guest is a woman who I know because she is my niece's grandmother. We're too young to be grandmothers,
I know.
But I invited her here because I had a feeling that I wasn't the only one that experienced some life obstacles. I could sense that she has experienced some life obstacles. When you look at her, every time I see her, she looks amazing. Sometimes I will have on jogging pants and a t-shirt, and she is always dressed beautifully from head to toe. I'm working on that. But her name is Mrs. LaShawn Lee, and I'm going to have her tell you about her background, what she does, who she serves, and then we're going to get into some questions.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Campbell. My name is LaShawn Lee, and I am the CEO and founder of the Cara House. I am also a professionally trained life coach. The population that we serve at the Cara House is mainly at-risk youth. There are young adults who have fallen along the wayside, too old for some services, too young for others. So we try to meet them where they are. We provide educational services. We provide CPR services. We provide vocational services to help them along the way. I am, as I said earlier, also a life coach because in serving this population of people, we've learned that they need help. They need help in all areas and aspects of their lives. So that is why we started I Choose Me coaching services to help them, with the things that they need in life. I have faced many obstacles, both professionally and personally. I take a different approach to obstacles, but we'll talk about that a little later.
So I have a couple of questions to ask you, but I thought since you were a life coach and I'm a growth coach, that we could coach each other today because I believe that when you have community, you can grow. You cannot grow when you are trying to navigate life by yourself. Everybody needs community.
This is true.
So tell me about a time in your life where you faced a significant challenge, whether it's personally or professionally.
Well, personally, our lives sort of mirror. And I don't know if you know this, but I adopted, he's a young man now, but at the time he was 9 months old. And no one told me of the things that he was going to experience in his young life. But he was mentally delayed. They said that he would never walk. He would never be able to eat by himself. And that he would pretty much be a vegetable. And I mean, he has this long list of medical challenges that I didn't learn about until he was in my home. But I had a village. I had a village that would give me resources, that gave me respite time, that gave me as much as they could possibly give me so that we could have him healthy and whole. And because of these resources, I was able to navigate some of the traditional things that happen to our children. He didn't have to go down that rabbit hole, but it forced me to change some things in my life. It made me look at who I was as a mom. It made me realize that I had to make some hard life changes. And that was very difficult for me. I am a healthcare provider and educator. And at the time, I had to give all that up. I had to make a choice to take care of this baby or give him back and continue to work. And my fear was if he went back, he would lose his life. I really felt like he would lose his life. So again, I take obstacles and look at them as growth challenges. I take obstacles and I celebrate small wins. And my small wins give me a platform for my larger wins. So the village helped me navigate his medical treatment. The village gave me time away for me to have me. The village gave my other children an opportunity to have a space in my life. Sometimes when we have sick children and there's more than one child, we want to focus all our attention on that child, but the other children get left behind. But because I had a village, it all worked out.
Wow. So let me just tell you, I did not know that.
Okay.
And I think that what you shared is going to help a lot of people because I think oftentimes, especially us as Blacks, I know that it's not isolated to Blacks. There are other women and other nationalities that do this, but I think sometimes we take on so much and believe that I'm strong and I'm just going to figure it out. But sometimes figuring it out leads you personally down a path that can be difficult to bounce back from.
Yes.
And so I like that you shared that your village gave you time to do the other things that were just as equally important in your life. When I think about the statement that you made, that if you would have sent him back, he possibly wouldn't have made it, really just, I want to be honest, hit me like a ton of bricks.
Okay.
In my new book, Grow With Me, one of my chapters is dedicated to my daughter, Jasmine, who you know is deaf and she's mute. And when she was 3 years old, she wasn't walking at that point. And I was told that she was not going to walk. And that was hurtful for them to say, your daughter, who is deaf, who doesn't talk, she's also not going to walk. But here we are 31 years later, and she walks. She does not talk verbally, but she knows how to communicate her needs better than some people who actually can talk. Also, I'm reminded of last year, there was a young autistic boy in the suburb that's not too far from us, whose father dropped him off at a daycare, and they told him, oh yeah, we got this. And then really like 30 minutes after he left, the caregiver strapped him in a chair so she could take a shower. And within this 30-minute time frame, I guess from being strapped in the chair, the baby died. And so I thought about that, and I actually referenced that in my book, because I think so many times we think that life is just happening to us, and that life for us is so bad, not realizing that there are others that are going through issues that are bigger than life. And some of them wind up taking their own life because they can't handle the pressure.
Yes. Well, I have a question for you, Dr. Campbell. At what point in your life did you realize that you can handle taking care of Jasmine?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I talk about this a lot in the book.
Okay.
So first, let me say this. Children don't come with a user's manual.
No, they don't.
Like a car.
No.
And my mother, Yolanda, when I would say to her, I'm not going to make it, she said, and she said this repeatedly, Jasmine is going to be all right. So it was a combination of my mother, but it was also that one point in my life when I tried to take my own life that I realized that I was stronger than this. My grandfather, a World War II veteran, currently 102 years old. Back then, I watched him work and provide for his family. And I watched the Campbells be good citizens and good people and do the things that they needed to do to navigate life. It was that moment when I was sitting in the bed at Hartgrove Hospital. The nurse said, nothing wrong with you. And honestly, I don't know if that was a fair statement. Yeah, something was wrong with me. I was hurting, and I thought the way to kill the pain was to take 30 Tylenol. And that would solve all my problems because I would no longer be here. But when I left that hospital, that was probably one of my lowest points in life. And I realized that it was time to change. Not only for me, but for Jasmine. Mom always says, children don't ask to come here. And so since she was here, and since God gave her to me, it was my responsibility to take care of her. And in order to take care of her, I had to take care of me first.
It is such a challenge. And I know for me, with him being adopted, it was a double whammy because I used to feel like, hey, I didn't ask for this. But I can remember something. I too come from a very strong background. I can vividly remember my great grandmother saying to me things like, Shani, reach for the moon. No, she would say, reach for the stars if you only grab the moon. And my grandmother speaking life into me, saying things to me that I didn't understand at the time. But as an adult, when you face challenges, those things come back to you. But I've always been around very, very strong women. Very, very strong women. And so I looked at this baby one day, and my aunt came over and she said, Shani, because that's what my family calls me, he looks just like you. He looks just like us. And in that moment, I knew, okay, I have to fight for this baby. And now he is 23 years old. He graduated high school, top of his class. He's gone on to school for veterinary medicine. Now, he is different. He is different, and he knows he's different. And I had to come to grips with the fact that he's different, because the things that most of us like, he just does not care about. And then, that could too just be a guy thing, so, but he's alive, he's healthy, he's well-mannered, and he's thriving. But had I listened to the report of the doctors and not the report of the Lord, this baby could have been lost. And my husband tells me all the time, he's not a baby, but he's my baby. He's my baby. So he's doing well. So in your life, how do you balance your career, your family, and Jasmine?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. that is one that honestly I struggle with.
Okay.
And I struggle with it because it's this balancing act of me, Lisa, me, mother, me, wife, me, daughter, me, grandmother, auntie. I'm all of these people. Then you add all of my entrepreneurial journeys. I'm all of these people. And sometimes I struggle with, how do I, number one, show up and be the best version of myself for everyone that I interact with, that I'm responsible for, if you will. So one of the things I will say is that I do try. Do I always get it right? No, because I'm human. I do try to balance my time. But one of the things that I realized that I had to do, I had to get rid of some things that were not as equally as important as the others. My grandfather is 102. My parents are in their 70s. My husband and I are now in the golden 50 years. We just had our first grandchild, one on the way. So this side of 50, I realized that there are some things that are more important today and for the future compared to, 20 years ago. And balancing it, I don't think I have a recipe. I think that I try to plan to do things. And most days, I got 10 items on my list of things to do. And sometimes I will accomplish 2. Sometimes I accomplish 5. But what I've realized is that I have to give myself grace. I realized one day that I was trying to be like my aunts and uncles and how they raised us. But I realized that, number one, I'm not them. Number 2, we're living in different times. Number 3, how I'm navigating life is a lot different than how they navigate life.
Yes.
And so I give myself grace to say, be proud of what you can accomplish and do not worry about, or do not, make myself feel bad about the things that I'm not able to do. But it is definitely a constant balancing act. Sometimes I wonder, am I spending enough time with my husband? Because he's a man and he has needs, even if it's just me looking at him and his eyeballs for a few minutes. I've realized, and I'm realizing that I have to be intentional about the things that I do, the things that I want to do, and then just, again, give myself grace if I don't accomplish all of them. One thing that I am very clear about, it is not my desire to go back to Hartgrove Hospital, and that I needed to prioritize things like self-care. I believe in massages. I love a good massage. My husband and I will do sensory deprivation tank, the floating. So I prioritize me so that I can be there for all of them. As my parents age, you know this, the tables have turned, right? We needed them more.
Absolutely.
And now, to some extent, they need us more.
Yes. Yes. Well, I was just asking that question for a friend because I ask myself this every day. How do I balance all the hats that I wear? And how do I balance with all the hats that I wear and not shortchange anyone? You know, same questions. Am I spending enough time with my husband? Am I spending enough time with my children or my grandchildren? Which, plate am I going to attack today? Is it the Cara House? Is it I Choose Me? Is it Cara Academy? So all these things are bidding for our time. And as a person, as a woman, as me, like you said, not the wife, not the mother, not the grandmother, not the entrepreneur, but as me, I have to take some time and choose me. And that is why I named the coaching company I Choose Me, because I think sometimes we as women think that it's selfish if we take some time for ourselves, if we pamper ourselves. And my new favorite word is no. Unapologetically, no explanation, just no. My husband says all the time, you don't have to go to everything. You don't have to meet with everyone. So I am learning to choose me, to prioritize my life, to be intentional about the things that I attend and, saying no to everything else. So, I think that's just something that entrepreneurial women go through. And what I would imagine for men as well, I would imagine that they face some of those challenges as well, spending time with family and friends. We went to a play a couple nights ago and I saw 4 of my best friends and I felt like I hadn't seen them in ages. It almost brought tears to my eyes and we live in close proximity, but we're all just so busy until we don't get to see each other. So we still have to learn that balancing act.
Well, you know what? So 2 things. Number 1, if you ever need a lesson on saying no, just ask Paul, because he is very clear about his no's. And most of the time, no means no, unless I say, hubby. And then sometimes I can get a yes out of him. But the other thing that I have planned for this year is I am going to be very intentional about the activities that I do. So I think I mentioned to you that I'm going to be hosting, actually have started hosting master classes. You can call them group coaching, you can call them community time, but really it's about doing some check-ins with some folks that I love. I think a lot of times in my own village, there are some of them that struggle and will never admit that they are struggling. And I think that's a dangerous, I know that's a dangerous place for them to be in. And so doing the check-ins, maybe a glass of wine, and one of those fancy boards that I try not to say the word because I don't want to mess up the word. So my next question, and as a fellow healthcare professional, I know that you are very familiar with strategic plans and mission and vision and core values. But as an individual, how do you approach goal setting?
Well, I set several goals for myself. I set long-term goals. I set short-term goals. I set weekly goals. And like you, I set daily goals. My daughter teases me all the time because I've always got a piece of paper with a list of things to do on it. And I feel accomplished when I can just check one thing off the list. And so those are my daily goals. But I review my goals often. It does my heart good to go back and look at my goals from last year to see how much I've accomplished. I think you have to be realistic with yourself with setting goals. I think some goals should be out of your comfort zone because you need something to aspire to. And so you should check in with yourself daily, weekly, I do monthly. And again, at the end of the year, I sit with a nice glass of something cold and I go back over my list to see how much I've accomplished. And it also lets you know when you check in with your goals, where you're spending your time. Sometimes you can, it's free on Google, you can download a daily calendar. And I think it's in increments of 30 minutes for 24 hours. And if you just take time and jot down what you're doing for the day, it is mind-blowing where you spend your time. But it is also a tool to let you know where you need to spend your time and where you don't.
That's interesting. So I know before we got on, we talked about a book that we both read, Who, Not How.
Who, Not How.
Thank you, Attorney Shakita Hall Jackson, for the referral. Who, Not How has been a game changer for me because, earlier when you asked about, how do I juggle all of this? I realized that I'm an overachiever and not an overachiever because I'm trying to become a millionaire. I think a lot of people think that I work so hard because I'm chasing after money. I've always worked a lot of jobs, teaching here and teaching there. Because number one, it has afforded me a lifestyle that I enjoy. I enjoy traveling. I enjoy, going out for a nice dinner. But honestly, one of the things that's in the back of my mind every minute of the day is what's going to happen when I'm no longer here. What resources will be available for my daughter to whomever is, the new guardian for her. My second oldest, third oldest children, I know that they are going to make sure she's okay. But I want to make sure that financially it's not a burden, right? Because our son has 2 children, one on the way, right? So I don't want it to be a situation where they're so overburdened financially that she becomes a ward of the state. So I work hard, number one, because I actually enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. And when you enjoy what you do.
Yes, it doesn't feel like work.
No. But I do have to really be aware. And Paul just said recently, you cannot be at the office all night. It's getting bad out here. And I want you to come home. And so I respect that. And so in looking and reading and meditating on Who, Not How, I freed up portions of my day because I take this 8.5 by 14 sheet of paper and I write down all of the things that I need my who's to do so that I can continue to focus on being the mastermind behind this operation. And it's been powerful.
You have to do that because someone told me, LaShawn, you cannot be the CEO and the secretary. Something has to give. So there's a part in the book where he says, one of his clients said, I can't afford to pay him. And then he says, you can't afford not to pay him. Because paying him, like you said, would free up your time to do the things you need to do for your business. So that's a concept that a lot of us have to wrap our heads around because we are so busy watching the bottom line, the dime on the penny and the penny on the dime until we feel like if we let that penny and that dime go, then it's going to break us. When in all actuality, it frees us up to make more pennies and more dimes.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's a constant struggle in my household.
Okay.
I am pretty sure that my husband feels that my businesses are going to bankrupt us. And being an entrepreneur, you got to be a risk taker.
Yes, you do.
Because number one, there's this misconception. You have a business, so you must have a lot of money. When in actuality, you're living, day to day,
yes,
just like everybody else.
Yes.
The difference is that you're focused on working for you. A lot of people are held hostage by salary and benefits.
Yes.
Now listen, there's nothing wrong.
Nothing at all.
With a good old 9 to 5.
Nothing.
But this girl here, like a little flexibility, right? If I want to, in the middle of the day, go sit down and have lunch with myself, and that lunch is 2 hours, I want to be able to do that. So talk to us a little bit about the Cara House. My husband, Paul, and I have had an opportunity to go to one of your fundraisers, which is actually the first time we realized that, or I realized that I knew your husband. Talk about the world getting smaller. But tell us about the impact that it's had on the lives of those that you serve and the obstacles that they face.
Wow. So the Cara House has been in business now. It'll be 14 years in November. We've serviced hundreds of people and their families. And not just here in the state of Illinois, we service the entire United States area. Our motto for the Cara House is changing lives, because that's what we try to do. We try to change the trajectory of the lives of those who are lost. Our big piece is our high school diploma program, where if you are at least 16 years of age, you can be 60 years of age, but the youngest that we will take you is 16. You have the opportunity to earn your high school diploma in the comfort of your home. There are no deadlines to meet. There are no classes to attend. And we structured the program this way because a lot of our children are transient. A lot of them are homeless. A lot of them are entangled with the law. They're not sure where they're going to be from one day to the other. So it's unrealistic to ask them to come in and sit and take classes for this program. We are registered with the Board of Education, so it is a legitimate program. We give our students 180 days to complete, which is roughly a little more than 6 months. However, we will work with you if you need more time. But we do this because at minimum, you need your high school diploma to find a decent, well-paying job. After the Cara House with the high school program, again, we do small programs that you can earn a certificate, place you in atmospheres with other professional people in hopes that you will go on to further your education. Recently, maybe 2 months ago, we had one of our students graduate from nursing school in Southern University. We've had people go into the service. We've had people start their own businesses. So we really are trying to change lives. It's important. It's not about the money at this point, because I feel blessed when I know I had a part in changing someone's life and changing their lives for the good. And then they go on and tell 2 people, and you know the story, they tell 2 people, and that's how we get our referrals.
All I heard was growth, supported by more growth, supported by more growth. And I like how you have that approach where it's not just about the high school diploma. It's about the things that happen after that.
Right.
You know, something that just hit me, the brick and mortar colleges and universities, I think they could learn from the model that you have, because I think there's this big push for persistence, persist to graduation, and then we got job placement available, but they need more than job placement. They need to be a part of a community. Now, some would say, well, we have the Alumni Association, but that's not necessarily the community that they need, because maybe they need support with how to dress for the interview. Maybe they struggle with having a conversation during the interview. Maybe they struggle with imposter syndrome, right? I'm not good enough. They're not going to hire me. And so by this continuous growth and support that you offer, I can see how you're changing lives.
Well, that is part of our curriculum. So the last chapter of the curriculum is called Job Readiness. And in this particular subject, we teach them from A to Z. So they have to come up with a mock business. And that is the name of the business, the EIN numbers, banking account information, websites, of course it's all fictional, but just to get them in the mindset of changing their lives, because some of them do not have a clue. We do mock interviews where they have to dress and sit before professional people. We have people come in and volunteer and interview them. And some of them have actually been hired.
Wow.
We've also partnered with South Suburban College, and they have a program that will take our students and place them with employers, pay their salaries for 6 to 8 weeks in hopes that the employer will then hire them. So again, we're trying to hit it from all aspects in hopes that we can change someone's life.
Oh, I believe you are, because what I'm seeing is that you're giving them a pathway to employment, pathway to future, pathway to improving the quality of their lives instead of a pathway to prison.
Yes. Which is what most things are structured for right now, unfortunately. And so we're trying to hit them or grab them before they make it to that point.
I love it. My husband and I recently went to a grammar school to volunteer. And so one of the things that we're going to do as a part of our coaching is to go into the public schools. I believe that kindergarten is the time to start coaching young people. Yes. Because sometimes they're not getting that male influence, in the house. And it's not that their family members don't have the ability to do so. They don't know how.
Yes.
So by helping at that young age, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, showing them that there's more than life than the 606, right? That they can become a law-abiding citizen. They can become some of the people that they see on TV. Not like they're going to be the Kardashians or, the Tesla guy or the Google guy or the Microsoft guy, but whoever they're destined to be, giving them that support. So I have enjoyed our conversation together today. I actually always enjoy our conversations. And so one last question.
Okay.
And that question is, this is a heavy one.
Okay.
Can you tell us about a time when you had to step out of your comfort zone and how it led to personal growth or professional growth?
The one time that I had to step outside of my comfort zone is when I started my business. I was the new entrepreneur, and the lady that was mentoring me told me how many thousands of dollars I would make a week, and I was ready to quit my 9 to 5 because I am going to be rich. And then several months later, it hit me. This isn't going to happen overnight. And so the services that I needed to provide, I did not have the backing, the certifications, nor the education to provide. So I had to step outside of my comfort zone, ask for help, go back to school, exhaust a lot of savings, but I knew what the end result would be. But at the time, it just seemed to be a bit much. I have a very difficult time asking for help. And at that particular time, I had to ask for help. I had to ask for help financially. I had to ask my village to watch my children because they were small at the time so that I could go back to school. I had to ask for help with the certifications because all those things needed to be in place for my job or my career to be legitimized. I couldn't go off saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and I didn't have the necessary documents and credentials behind me to make that happen. So that was very uncomfortable for me because working in healthcare, I was set. I was 25 years in, making a really good salary. I had tenure, I had pension. So to do this all over again really pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Wow. And you know what I gathered from that?
What's that?
I choose me.
I choose me. I did. I chose me because I believed that God wanted me to do this. And because I believed that God wanted me to do this, I believed that he would provide. And he did.
I love it. You made me a little teary-eyed, and I don't know if this menopause, 'cause I'm either hot or crying. But you know what? Actually, I love the menopausal stage because crying does not mean I'm weak.
Mm-hmm.
Crying allows me to shed all of the weight that is holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I let go of it, I come out with my boxing gloves on and I am ready to help everybody that's willing to listen grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's powerful because it's not about the money. Now, listen, I still got to eat.
This is true. And I like to eat.
I like to eat. I got to pay my trainer.
That's right.
Right? I can't go to him for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Gas is $10. I need gas. $10 a gallon, it seems like. Eggs are $10, right? So I got to eat. But I have to be in a place where I can help others grow. And I can't help them if I'm weighed down. So as I'm shedding all of this mental, physical, emotional weight, I'm coming out swinging. And anybody and everybody that's ready to grow, they can join this train. So tell our viewing audience how they can find you, because I know even though I'm a coach, you're a coach, there's no competition.
No.
Because we are both walking in the spaces that we're walking in. The right people that need to be attracted to us will be attracted to us in the services that we provide. Preferably, we will be able to repel those that do not need to work with us. And I'm sure our husbands will handle that part.
Absolutely.
But tell everyone how they can reach you for both of your brands, because the services that you provide are much needed, and probably a lot of folks don't know about them. And so I'm hoping that as our listening, viewing audience hears the information, that they will reach out and just start the conversation.
Well, for the services of the Cara House, you can reach us by going to our website at www.carahouse.com, or you can give us a call at area code 708-991-7281. For I Choose Me Coaching, you can reach us at our website at www.ichooseme.life. Or you can give us a call at area code 708-991-7281. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Now, I got to clarify something, because, even though we're going to have this on the screen, the people want to know how you spell the Cara House, because,
So Cara House is spelled CARRAHOUSE. 2 R's. carahouse.com.
That's important, because, folks will
Yes,
say, I can't find it on the internet.
Yes. And remember, I Choose Me is .life, not .com. It's .life because we want to speak life into all those who choose themselves.
And I choose me every day.
Yes.
All day.
Yes.
Because I think it's important. And you got to choose you so that you can be there for everybody else.
That is true. But, so often we are the last on our list if we make it to our list. And we don't see us as a being. It's like we talked about at the top of the hour, we're mothers, we're parents, we're sisters, we're
Until next time, I will see you all real soon. Thank you so much for listening, and you know how to find me, thegrowthmotivator.com.